Ignite time, and there are a lot of announcements, and also for Azure Stack HCI. And one of those is the Azure Arc VM management. So Arc VM management sounds like Azure Arc Resource Bridge, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Azure Arc Resource Bridge is an important part of this VM-based management from the Azure portal. This is not completely new for Azure Stack HCI 23H2. We already had an Azure Arc Resource Bridge that we could deploy in a preview version for Azure Stack HCI 2020H2, but it was a very complicated deployment script that we had to use to provide this resource bridge. There were several independent manual steps, and so it was a pain to get this resource bridge up and running. It was only a preview. Now in Azure Stack HCI 23H2, this is part of the cluster deployment. So when our cluster is up and running, the Azure Arc Resource Bridge is there, and I don't need any line of PowerShell to provide this resource bridge. It's there by default. It works. It's very easy to deploy. If I'm not interested in this technique, how the resource bridge works, I don't have to care about it because it's deployed automatically. And if the deployment has finished successfully, I can use the Azure portal for managing local VMs, deploying VMs, configuring VMs, starting VMs, shutting down VMs. This is integrated in the new version of Azure Stack HCI.
Ah, that's perfect. So at the beginning, we had Azure Stack HCI, then we had Azure Arc enablement. Then Azure Arc, with Azure Arc, we brought the infrastructure and the virtual machines into Azure's visibility, so the portal, but were not able to create new virtual machines. We were not able to start and stop them. Then we had this with the resource bridge, and now it's absolutely integrated. So it looks like the new Azure Stack HCI version, including the cloud-based deployment and cloud-based update management, and now the Arc VM management is a super centralized, easy to manage, to deploy solution. That sounds really good to me. But we told our customers that Azure Stack HCI can be used offline for 30 days. So every 30 days, they have to be connected for billing. Only billing purposes, no more information will be shared with Azure. Is there anything changing now with the next version of Azure Stack HCI?
No, these 30 days are still the maximum time that we can be disconnected. So if we have an internet outage, our local virtual machines keep up and running. I can access my storage, so nothing goes down when my internet is disconnected. But in the Azure Stack HCI version 2020H2 and before, I usually used local tools for deployment of new virtual machines, for example. So my preferred tool for deploying new virtual machines in the past was Windows Admin Center or Failover Cluster Manager. This changes with 23H2 because the Azure portal brings us more capabilities for Azure Stack HCI. So in my testing in the last days, I realized that I never used this local tool. So I deployed virtual machines via the Azure portal. I configured volumes via the Azure portal and so on. So it was not necessary to use these local tools. And so my impression is that also customers will realize that it's much more comfortable to use the Azure portal because we have technologies like the Azure Resource Management, where we can automate things, where we can work with templates. And for sure, these capabilities of the Azure portal can only be used if the connectivity is there to the Azure Stack HCI cluster. So let's imagine we have a disconnected scenario. So maybe because of an outage of the internet connectivity, or because we use this Azure Stack HCI cluster mobile where we don't have a connectivity, then for sure we are not able to deploy virtual machines from the Azure portal or start virtual machines from the Azure portal. But the local tools, I tested this in the preview that was published at Microsoft Ignite, still work. So it's possible to use the Windows Admin Center, and it's possible to use the Failover Cluster Manager for VM management. But my impression is that the intention is to focus on the Azure portal.
Okay, that's important to understand, that even in a disconnected scenario, it's working, nothing is shutting down. Perfect, good to know. So thank you, Manfred.
Thank you, Sven.